Bang. Hey, are you guys interested in moving like animals? Because that's what this video is all about. I'm going to show you guys the reasons why I personally love animal flow, and right now we're going to go through a wrist mobilization, so the rest of this video you guys can attempt and learn safely without hurting your joints. Let's do this. Alright, so one of the reasons why I really enjoy animal flow is because it's just rooted in ground-based exercises, which kind of fundamentally brings us back to when we start to begin to learn our bodies through space and proprioceptively kind of learn how we live through life. It is considered a closed chain exercises, which simply means that our limbs are in constant tension with the ground, and we ourselves are creating resistance by pushing and pulling our bodies around it, as opposed to necessarily like moving objects. But more importantly, it's also really fun. But before we get into that, we're gonna do some wrist mobilization. So you're gonna join me right now. We're gonna allow our ankles to decompress a little bit. So I actually want you to comfortably sit your heels, or your butt rather, to your heels. You're going to interlock your fingertips, and we're gonna go into a nice controlled figure eight. So you're gonna lead, we're gonna be here for about 20 seconds. We're leading with one arm right now, and we're really just kind of expressing some love to these joints. Now, when we switch to the opposite direction, our opposite wrist is gonna kind of lead this pull, and we're going to then get some big toe extension because that plays a big role in this animal flow as well. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You're gonna dig your toes to the floor and try to, as much as you can, comfortably sit your butt back towards those heels. If you need to every now and then kind of lift off to take some weight off, that's fine. But now we're going to switch directions as well. So we're gonna spend a lot of time on all fours. Our big toe extension plays a big role in a lot of these movements. So if you don't have this just yet, make sure that you take the time to really get that big toe extension. At least drill this before we go into the movements so we at least get a little warmed up. And that goes the same with our wrist. So from here, I'm gonna have you get off those toes now. You're gonna have one fingertip face straight while the other fingertips are gonna face the body. So the pits of the elbows are out away from you. Your palms are gonna be in line, and you're just gonna gently, listening to this wrist, we're gonna focus on this right wrist and sit back into those heels. So we're just getting some extension now in this wrist. This should feel good. We want to make sure that we're staying nice and flat with this palm. And again, our shoulder is retracted here, so make sure you didn't rotate the opposite way. You'll never know how many times I've seen that in a classroom. It happens every time. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to simply switch. Now that fingertip is going to face straight, the opposite fingertips are going to face the body, and we're going to do the same drill back and forth. So take some time to really listen to those wrists. Maybe you have a little bit more extension access in one than the other. Maybe it's a little bit more comfortable than one than the other. Nothing's necessarily bad, it's just good to kind of take note on maybe some things that you need to work on later. All right, so from here, we got some nice extension here in our wrists. Now we're gonna go for some flexion here. So we're gonna place the back of the palms on the floor. This is one of my favorite drills. It's gonna release a lot of that forearm. You're gonna try to curl the knuckles off the floor, make a fist. You're gonna try to straighten out those arms and rotate the pits of the elbows out, shoulder blades back and down. And you're gonna squeeze and hold for 4, for 3, for 2, and 1, and you're gonna release, and then you're just gonna pivot side to side and give it some love. We're gonna do that 2 more times. So curl those knuckles off the floor, straighten out those arms, pits of the elbows out away from you, hold for 4, 3, 2, and 1, and release, shake it out, side to side. And then our last one, curl the knuckles, big one, pits of the elbows away from us, straight arms, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice, we're gonna sit back onto those ankles. You're gonna give me like tubular, that's a little sign here, and we're just gonna shake it back and forth. Try to get a little loose here. Let that wrist just kind of move on its own, and then twist. Some T's and Y's, T's and Y's. Get loose, shake it out. Now, your wrists and your joints, your ankles and all those things are ready to rock and roll. And if at any point during the next 10 to 15 minutes that you're looking at this video, your wrist is starting to get a little achy, don't be afraid to kind of stop what you're doing and get back to some of these wrist mobilization drills that we did here. It does take some time to kind of get used to that constant flexed or extended position in our wrist, especially if you don't have like a gymnastics background or any background where you're used to crawling. So yeah, welcome to Animal Flow, guys. Let's do this. Starting out the gate with some bad beast positions. These are common things I see in classes that I teach. With our beast, we really want to make sure that our knees are staying underneath us, not behind us, and our hands are not in front of us, butt's not in the air. These are all common things that I see. Now, what we really want to make sure is that we have a nice active trunk. So our knees are actually going to start between our belly button and our hip line. I'm going to protract and retract to my end ranges to find that healthy middle. Rotate my pits of the elbows out, grab the floor to make sure my lats are with me. And then I'm going to really challenge my trunk and do some limb lifts. I'm going from a 4-point stance to a 3-point stance, lifting each limb about an inch off the floor. And now I'm going to really challenge myself and do a contralateral limb lifts, opposite limbs. 2-point stances here, very difficult. So picking up where we left off with our activations, we're now going to challenge our body from our 2-point stance to contralateral limb lifts to now travel forward. The name of the game is anti-rotation. We want to just keep our trunk fired up. Notice my limbs are picking up and landing at the same exact time. That's key. These are just some common mistakes I see in the traveling form. Butt is in the air, taking too big of steps, abs are not on, rotating in the hips. Going right into our crab position, these are some common mistakes that I see. Our shoulders are internally rotated, protracted, our hips are way too high. This position should really open up the front aspect of our body. So we can start off with our hands 90 degrees if we don't have that range of motion, but ideally fingertips will face behind us. We're going to bring our shoulder blades back and down. I should look like a capital M from the side. So to achieve this, I'm gonna bring my butt all the way to heels, then hands, and find that nice Goldilocks position. I'm pulling my shoulders away from my ears. You should feel a lot of rear delt, a lot of tricep, and now we're gonna go into our limb lifts, this activation aspect. Again, we're lifting about an inch off the floor, sheet of paper, whatever you want to call it. Our contralateral limb lift is probably the most challenging. There will be some rotation. The idea here is to mitigate as much as possible. These activations play a big role, especially before we enter our traveling form. So again, finding that healthy crab position. We really want to now bend from the elbow as we lift our limbs. Now, as we travel forward, we want our fingertips and heels to land at the same time and lift at the same time. As we travel reverse, it's going to be the opposite of that. We want our palms and our toes to land together. This is a little bit counterintuitive for me in particular, so I really have to focus on this. And again, we're trying not to rotate. You should feel those shoulder blades retract the whole time. Do not let that shoulder slip forward. Again, this is opening up that body. Entering into our deep 8 position or ass to grass, we are now going to laterally travel left to right. This is a low hip version. Essentially what we're doing is we're transferring our weight from our heels to the balls of our feet as we reach cross body with that trail arm and sandwich that front knee. Now, as we push through those palms, keeping a nice active straight arm, we're going to replace that lead knee with our trail knee. Always take a beat in between to lift our chest. Now, with our traveling high hip, we want to make sure we're squeezing the heels to our butt and really creating tension with our trunk and lifting and controlling that descend left to right. Same rules apply as the low hip. With our lateral traveling 8 with extended reach, everything is going to be the same, really keeping a nice low hip position. The only thing that's different here is that as we land, our lead leg is going to quickly extend into a straight position, and we essentially cos hack, shift our hips left to right. Starting on your toes, your eyes are going to find your hop spot. Now, once you reach and land your hands, your eyes are going to look up to prevent your hips from coming up. Work on eccentrically loading and keeping your abs on as you land gracefully back between your arms. Learning to use potential momentum. Big important drill here. Pushing your hips back towards the heels, sliding or reaching your arms forward, drilling those palms into the floor to wake up those lats, keeping your knees an inch off the ground and knees slightly flared. You're now going to shift your body weight forward, keeping a nice active straight arm and shoulders protracted. Now, knees will stay slightly flexed and eyes will be gazing through the ground. My personal favorite drill. Starting in your loaded beast position, you're going to simply draw the hips high to the ceiling. As soon as your knees reach its full extension, keeping your chin tucked towards your chest, you're going to start your flexion wave. Now, once your shoulders get past your wrist line, you'll start your extension wave. Then you'll lift your chin when your hips are done. In this position, corkscrew your shoulders back and down, pits of the elbows out, and you're going to simply reverse everything by bringing your chin towards your chest. Starting in your strong loaded beast position.
Now, as you start to shift your body weight forward, your hips will elevate, and your reaching leg you'll carry with you tight towards your body. That knee will stay glued to chest, and that heel will stay glued to your butt. As your shoulders get past your wrist line, you're gonna connect that same knee to that same side elbow. Chin will slightly lift, and you'll look forward, and you'll reverse that chin towards your chest as you bring yourself back to your loaded beast position. Starting in your loaded beast position, your scorpion leg is going to reach crossbody towards that opposite wrist, keeping your toes nice and pointed and our base knee slightly bent. We're going to really ensure that this is a vertical press as we try to drive our shin towards the ceiling at a 90-degree angle. Arms stay straight the whole ride, all right? So the base leg is always slightly bent. And to return to loaded beast, your traveling leg has to actually reach back towards that opposite wrist before your loaded position. Start in your deep ape. You're gonna round your spine, chin to chest, knees come in, back of the palms glued together, thumbs will get as close to the ground as possible without touching. And then from there, you're going to reverse that position. You're gonna bring your pelvis slightly forward as you extend through that spine. You're gonna transition from the heels to the balls to the toes of your feet as your shoulder blades abduct, externally rotate, palms to the ceiling, and retract that scapula. Open up that chest. Start in crab. You're going to bring one arm to midline, hand about 6 to 8 inches away from your face. From here, you're going to drive through the heels, bringing the hips up towards a 3-point stance bridge. Once your hips complete full extension, that reaching arm is going to then extend behind us, keeping a soft bend in the elbow, framing the face, and then your eyes will then gaze at the static arm on the floor, making sure that it's a nice corkscrew position so the lats are on. You're about to see a right leg underswitch. Right leg, left arm will lift simultaneously, and I will, with control, transition underneath my body through that movement window I've created. Now, from a crab, if you've noticed that when I repeat that same position, we'll watch it here, I'm going to drive through my toe, there you go, step on the gas, and that's going to create space for my movement window to travel underneath my body. Keep in mind that when you transition between these two movements, it's never a complete 180 degrees. You're always going to be about a 45-degree difference here. This is a really fun drill to really emphasize the idea of control and speed. And the idea here is that we want to redirect our momentum back to our starting position as quickly as possible with control. So as soon as our limbs tap the floor, we're going to simply bring it right back to starting position. This move could only be done and performed starting from a crab position. So just like our normal underswitch, as we come through, we're going to pause for a beat in what's referred to as a modified beast. So notice I still have a floating leg that's not necessarily connected to the floor. I'm in my 3-point stance, and then I'm going to use that floating leg to continue my 360. You can only do a full scorpion from crab. So you're going to initiate it like you would an underswitch. That leg is going to travel underneath our body. Arm is going to plant shoulder width apart, vertical press here, and that scorpion tail is going to be made, pointed toe. The base leg then goes straight. I'm actively still reaching that left arm to the floor as I allow that scorpion tail weight to slowly peel me off with control. As soon as I land, this is my modified crab position. Scorpion switch is performed from beast or loaded beast. Here I'm going to show you from a loaded beast position. I'm initiating this move like I would my scorpion reach, where I reach cross body. And then same rules apply as my full scorpion. I'm going to slowly allow that scorpion tail to peel my right arm off the floor, landing in a modified crab. Right leg side kick through. That means that my left heel is going to drop, so I stop my momentum. Now, as I come through, I'm going to extend my left leg through. Notice that my base arm is nice and active. That shoulder stays away from those ears. I am pointing my toe, and the back of my hand is facing away from my face. This is a high elbow row. The difference here is now we're going to use momentum. Now, as I bring those limbs back underneath my body quickly to that beast position, notice I land for a beat in that modified beast, that 3-point stance position. From there, I'm going to allow my floating foot to transfer through and complete the 360 degrees of rotation. Tons of tension throughout the body in this movement. Using that momentum, we're now trying to stack our hips over our shoulders. So the main takeaway here is you want to create tension by squeezing your heels towards your butt. You really want to have a strong vertical press, no soft elbows here, and you land briefly, boom, right there into what looks like a high hip modified beast. So it's just a brief pause, and then you just gently allow that floating leg to swing through and complete that 360 degrees. Begin in your loaded beast. You're going to drive out of your loaded beast, leading with that called out leg as you simultaneously lift that same side hand to be replaced by that foot. But now once your foot lands outside of where your hand was, the traveling hand is going to now be in front of the shoulder in an attack position. The elbow of the traveling hand should be outside of the same side of the knee, pulling backwards. Simultaneously reverse all this as you reload. I refer to these as quad city because you're definitely going to feel it in those quads. Now, after you land your front step, that working window between your base arm and base leg, that trail leg is now going to extend through, externally rotate, and point that toe. Now, that wide elbow is now going to then turn into a compressed elbow. You're going to bring it underneath your chin and close to your ribs. We reverse the movement with our trail leg coming back through that working window, and then we're going to simply replace that hand with that foot as we reload into our loaded beast. The leg that is called out for this movement will be the leg that actually initiates the step, not the kick through. Whereas here, the leg that is called out is actually the leg that kicks through that working window. So the only difference here is that we're going to be using a lot more power. We want to jump out of our loaded beast and forcefully drive that kicking leg through and into full extension. And that arm is now going to go into what's referred to as a guard position, similar to the end of our front step through. Move with speed. The term pop it back to loaded beast means that we are moving with force.
All right, guys, I hope you really enjoyed that video. I had a really good time making it. Please click like, please click subscribe, and let's continue this journey together. I'm gonna be putting a bunch of different mixed media up here, but it's mainly gonna be about fitness, and I want this to be the foundational video that you guys always go back to if or whenever you get lost in some of these workout videos I plan on posting in the future. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.